Welcome back to the Co-Operatives podcast, episode 8, PC Gaming versus Consoles. With us today is myself, obviously, Mick, the illustrious Johnny Thin, and the knowledgeable Miss Domo Z. And speaking of PC versus console, one of the biggest things that kind of a misnomer is a lot of people tend to think that consoles are blowing up with the advent of the Call of Duty franchises, any of the RPGs that fanboys are slavering over, and PC tends to kind of get underrated. Meanwhile, games are coming out that look 10 times better on PC versus console, but there are still people that will undyingly champion console over PC. Now, both Johnny Thin and Domo are two divided, if you will, because they're PC gamers and console gamers. Myself, I've only started PC games probably in the last year or so after not playing them for close to 10. Kind of seeing what all the allure's about, so...
I think there's a lot of fanboyism on both sides. I mean, I can understand some of it definitely, but there's benefits to both of them. I mean, I wouldn't own both an Xbox 360 and a gaming rig unless there was a benefit to doing it. So, I mean, the PC, I've got stuff. I mean, there's games on there that you'll never see on a console. Pretty much every MMO that gets on a console just bombs miserably.
Well, so, yeah, look at, what was it,
Final Fantasy. Well, that actually did very well. That one did well, but like Phantasy Star Online just kind of...
Which was, it started with Dreamcast.
Yeah, they had a 360 version. It's dead now.
Well, and then they did...
PSU's, Phantasy Star Universe.
Yeah. Right, and then they did the DC Universe Online.
Yeah.
They did... Conan, for a brief stint, was on the 360. The Age of Hyboria, or whatever it was.
They did like a spin-off game. It was just Conan. Remember Hit Me With Your Love Muscle, Conan? That one.
Yeah. Well, that was the standard one, but I remember there was a beta.
They planned on it. It just never released.
Right, because it just can't do well. And we found that the majority of online games that transition onto consoles go free to play within like the first 3 months because there's just no way to drag people in. I mean, PC people, you're never going to find a PC person that plays an MMO that will go, oh yeah, no, I'd rather play it with my controller.
Yeah. And
that's kind of the situation. Johnny, do you have something?
Part of it's you have to take into consideration the design of the game, and a lot of those things that you named either died simultaneously on the PC or never really had a following. Like DC Universe is a perfect example. It was made by Sony Online, but and they pushed it really hard, but they kind of screwed over console users because it wasn't really a true console game. It was really kind of a hybrid because you had to have a activation code for it on the PS3.
Correct.
So you couldn't do anything with your disc afterwards. You couldn't take it over to your buddy's house, which is, you know, as everyone knows, a big feature of console gaming is being able to kind of share games and play the same game at your friend's house that you were playing at your house with him.
Well, and that's an excellent thing. You'll never see a couch. You never hear couch co-op PC gaming. You know.
Yeah. Why would I split my screen with you? Bring your own thing over LAN. Like.
Which kind of goes back to like the old school Xbox. Like when you would have the LAN parties. Like now, you literally. I mean, gone are, you know, a lot of people are wireless now. You know, gone are the big like clunky hubs and, you know, the Cat5 cables crisscrossed every which way. But a few of the stats that I checked out, I was surprised to actually see them. In 2009, the PC expenditure revenue for gamers was almost $9 million, and console was 13, cresting on 14 million. By 2002, PC was just over $11 million, and console was just over $8 million. So, I mean, there was kind of a dichotomy, and I think probably a big part of it, keep in mind, none of these cash financial figures take any kind of nod from Steam, because Steam is notorious for not releasing its sales figures, and I think it's arguably the #1 platform for digital, or what do they call it, airware, where it's you're downloading from the ether to get it. And I mean, so much so that other companies are starting to bite it, from EA to GameStop even has their own download type server. Johnny?
Well, I mean, those figures do kind of factor in, but you got to figure, like, the console gaming just or console gaming is more or less a traditional business model, and that just doesn't make as much money. You also have to consider like social gaming that's come out, and that's basically just a money sink. That's all that is. It's designed to get more money out of the user. It's the same thing with Steam. Like if you're not physically going there and physically getting something, it's almost like you're not buying it at all. And that's pretty much what's happening. Nowadays they're looking to sell you a license to anything that you get, and having a physical thing where it is nice, and it's a lot more convenient to have digital stuff. Having a physical thing, not having a physical thing takes rights away from the
end user,
the customer, the end user. That's really what happens, and really where gaming's shifting is like this business model where everything is digital, and you basically nothing's resellable. It's all a one-way cash flow. There's never. That's pretty much the future of gaming, and PC. The big difference is PC's already made that shift, right. Whereas consoles probably won't make it for another couple of years with newer stuff. Even the Wii U. I mean, granted, it's still on DVDs, right?
Right.
But
initially, but they said that in Q2 of 2013 that they're going to unveil this giant digital download thing that's kind of going to make their discs a thing of the past, in big air quotes.
It's Nintendo, and they're so not internet friendly that I'm like,
right.
Sure, guys. And how do I add friends to my friend list on there again? Oh, there's a wiki for that. But I think as far as like the digital downloads and stuff like that being the difference between PC and console gamers, definitely, because of course you see a boom in consoles because the person who's never bought a video game before, they can hook up an HDMI cable to a TV to the back of the console. They can hook up the power cord and then put in the disc, period. If you ask them to install it, like, they can get lost with it. Someone who's just totally, not familiar with technology. And so, of course, you're going to see, like, bigger numbers on console, but it's a different demographic. So, I mean, the people who are buying PC games, most of them are not, like, waiting at the door at midnight for a Nintendo Wii. So.
Well, the Wii U, they were. That was insanity.
Here and there,
But I noticed the first shift, and I'm sure that many of our listeners or, gamers at large, nobody ever really reads the EULA when it comes down the pipe.
Of course not.
And I've started kind of checking those out ever since the Gotham City Imposters, where they made it a point in like giant bold print to be like, you aren't buying this game. You are buying a license that we can terminate at any given point. On top of that, the fact that it was a game that thrived on microtransactions. For my money, I'm kind of a traditionalist when it comes to console gaming. If you pay for something, you should have to keep paying into it. If you want to buy the DLC so that you can do maps with your friends, so be it. That's fine. But the core game, you should never have.
Everyone should be playing essentially the same game.
Right, and with Gotham City Imposters, and I know it's an example that I use, and I've beaten this horse to death, but they made a weapon that shot a giant parrot at you that obscured your vision, and for like up to like 5 seconds. And in a first-person game, obscuring your vision is kind of a big, annoying fucking thing. And the only way to get armor against it was in the same download pack where you used to get the bird cannon.
Man.
So there was a period of time for like 2 weeks where everybody had the stupid bird cannon and was using it against each other, and the only recourse that you would have is to buy the $4 bonus.
To fix the game that got broken from it.
Right.
And I'm really liking, I'm playing PlanetSide 2 right now, and that's one is a 100% free-to-play model, but the thing I like about it, the same way I like Guild Wars, all of the stuff that I could unlock by buying the card, which I, of course, threw money at it, special gun. Of course, here's my $15. I think I've already spent $40 on a totally free game. But I can unlock it if I took the time to earn the experience. I can earn all the certifications myself, and so could anybody else, or I could throw money at it, and that's fine. And it hasn't seemed to have broken the game so far. It's only been out for a couple days, but so far I'm not just getting like rolled over by people who threw money into it.
Well, it's that was kind of another thing I was going to get at. As a competitive gamer and not a major league gamer, as we were talking about, but people that like to go online and have fun, play against each other, play against AI, the fact that you don't have to earn it, that you can buy it, it doesn't rub you the wrong way at all?
It's lame, but I understand why they do. I mean, they have to make their money somehow. This isn't even like Guild Wars where I paid $60 at least up front. They got money from them there.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand why they're doing it. And as long as it's not breaking the game for me and it's not lessening my experience, I care less. I mean, not everybody has the money to spend it. Not everybody has the time to earn it either. Because I work 40 hours a week. I can't sit around and like earn all my certifications. So I didn't mind throwing 15. It's like, cool, money for them, gun for me. Go kill dudes, pew pew. Like,
now, with that in mind, all of us who have at one time or another worked at a big box retail store, the big push they were starting to do, I think it started with EA, if memory serves. I might be wrong on that.
Over the online passes?
Yeah, the online passes, which essentially, it didn't invalidate the
EA
game.
and THQ started just about the same time. THQ Project $10, EA online pass, and
you got it for free. For those of you that don't know, you would get it for free if you purchased the game new, but this was kind of their fuck you to game resellers, because the way these major AAA title companies looked at it is GameStop was essentially Funko Land
stealing sales by turning around and selling it used instead of their new copy.
Right, for only $5 or $10 less.
And that just gets people so fired up on both sides,
But it's funny because there's still a handful of games. The thing that hasn't made its way to console, which I've honestly kind of been waiting for it made its way to phones, was the Humble Bundle, where you pay X amount of dollars, anywhere from, I think it's $1 up to, I think like the most it accepts is like $2,000. But if you have that kind of money and you're that passionate about it, and you can download usually 5 to 7 games. Sometimes more, and their soundtracks, and essentially all the money goes to charity. I mean, you can finagle the slider, and all of the games you get, though, interestingly enough, are completely DRM free. So if you're really that, fuck the man, you could download those games from the indie developers and then upload them to file sharing sites. And there's honestly no recourse because there's no DRM.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where if you really fight piracy and fight secondhand tooth and nail, it's just going to screw over your consumers that actually give you money. That's pretty much every time. I mean, look at Ubisoft. Look at their always online DRM scheme.
You play, yeah.
Yeah, and it's shut down constant. I mean, aside from obviously DDoS attacks or whatever, but it's just screwing over the right consumer. I mean, I use EA, I play Sims, hardcore, and I had an issue where I have Sims, and I've paid for all of these expansions. I'm a sucker, right? And I install my expansions, and it won't let me use the CD key that Origin has on file for my legitimate copy of Sims 3. It kept rejecting every single time. Legitimate copy, physically own it. They have the CD key logged. I may or may not have used like a key gen and then put in that random one that I may have gotten illegitimately, and it was like, oh, okay. So by doing it the wrong way, it made my life easier, and that should never be the case, and it is almost always with DRM.
Well, that happened with there was a huge outcry when Blizzard did that with Diablo 3, because there's
the whole first week you're getting shut down on your single player game.
And that's the biggest thing, where if it doesn't advertise a giant online presence, and if you aren't playing it principally online or with other people, there's no reason to have that constant internet tether unless they're trying to prove that you somehow bought the game. But again, that's what the CD key does. And especially like the BattleNet that's constantly getting hacked, the authenticators that they strongly suggest you buy over and over and over again. It's like another $8 widget to have them make a random key for your account that can get DDoS'd and that can get hacked. And one of the biggest things, kind of switching gears, that I find that I will never get on console is the ability to incorporate mods into your games.
Yes, and that, like something like Skyrim. Why, if you have the option, why would you buy it on console?
Well, that was one of the biggest things is when Skyrim came out, I remember booting it up. I did the install so there wouldn't be any kind of like weird texture pops for no reason and yada yada yada. And I started playing it, and I was fairly blown away. And then I go over to Johnny Finn's house, not like 1 day or 2 days later, and he had it on PC at what, like 2/3 to max settings?
No, I think mine can run at max for the most part.
Oh yeah, so there you go, at max settings, and night and day, almost photorealistic. And then on top of that, with Skyrim, that you brought that up, there were, within 2 weeks, there were a handful of mods that sharpen textures, that...
And they didn't just, it's not just being able to get mobs, the developer literally handed you the keys and said, there you go, do whatever you want with my game, I don't care. And that, in console game, it just, I don't see them ever having a way of doing that.
I mean, the only real, the closest thing to that is probably, what, Forge? For Halo?
Which is really just a map editor, which is so basic in
but
comparison.
still, but, you know, that's kind of the best thing.
Can you make
we're gonna
Macho
get.
Men dragons with that? I didn't think so.
It's a restriction on the platform itself. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too with either of them. It's like you can either have a really simple and easy to play experience of the console, or you can have a complex and rich experience of the PC. It's kind of two sides of the same coin. You know, it's like you can't, like, the way that it works, and it's like they have tried to extend that. You know, I know that Unreal 3 on the PS3 ran mods, and there was like some kind of mod editor, but
they were like approved mods, the ones that you could download.
Yeah, but I mean, in order to really do that and really have consoles be some kind of a production base or like a development base, like you would have to have a more complex controller, so hence a keyboard or something like that. And at that point, it's a PC. So
yeah, why?
Yeah.
Well, actually, speaking of that, one of the I just yanked down some quick stats on the processor powers of the systems that are out now. A low end to average PC runs a 1 gig processor right now. Like that's like low end, middle of the road. PS3 has a 550 megahertz, 360 has a 500 megahertz, and the Wii has 250 megahertz, which is just kind of a glorified Xbox. And I don't know if you guys remembered when they said they put a bunch of pictures at it where the aeronautical naval, I think it was NAVSOC or one of the amalgamations that I'm not giving an attempt right now. They fused like 7 PS3s together and made a supercomputer that they were using for research and development.
Well, when your PS3 came out, it was very impressive. I mean, that was top of the line, but that's another thing with consoles. It's not like I can upgrade the video card in my Xbox and all of a sudden get better things out of my console games. Well, I have to deal with the five-year-old technology, and I mean, it still looks good to me, but if you have the money to have a really good gaming rig, you'll see the difference, just like the Skyrim thing. It's instant. You're just like, well, screw my Xbox. Like,
well, I think that a lot of the allure, aside from the simplicity of use that you talked about earlier, a lot of the allure with consoles is people look at it like, well, if I buy this system for what was Xbox when it came out, $299? Or
I think it was like $400 or $500.
Yeah, it was 500.
Was it 5
yeah,
for the 360?
Yeah, because like less than PS3, but still
when it came out with the hard drive, it was 500. The Pro model was 400, I think.
Okay, well, so a lot of people will look at that like, well, I could buy a $500 gaming PC, which realistically, if you're going to get a pure-blooded gaming PC, you're looking at $1,000. What's that?
Yeah, let's say 500, not much.
Yeah, and so a lot of people look at, I mean, myself especially, when I look at a console, I look at it like, well, I'm going to be able to play everything for the next 5 to 7 years. And that's kind of my thing. And when I look at it like a PC, I'm kind of, if I drop a shit ton of money into it and then I find out that I have to add another graphics processor or I have to add something else just to kind of keep up with the Joneses, it was never that bad back in the day. And then when, I think like Crysis was the first game that came out for PC where like literally they showed you what it ran at E3. I was at E3 when Crysis was being demoed. They showed you what it ran at, and there was not a system on the market that you could buy for like less than $1,500 to play their game. So they essentially created a game that was unplayable.
Yeah.
And then
hey, well, they became infamous for it, though.
Right. Yeah, and then of course, you know,
it's a good way to get your name out there.
Well, and it kind of created the keeping up with the Joneses mentality, and you know, a lot of gamers figured out ways to like overclock their systems and whatnot to run it, and you know, it became kind of a badge of honor that you had a system that was that worthy and that. What do you got, Johnny?
The 360, it's a tri-core, and I think they're like 1.3 gigahertz each, and then the PS3 is like a 550. But it's like 8 cores, I think. Yeah, I looked into that stuff a while ago, so I don't know what it is for sure, but I was like, that's really low. Like 550 megahertz is like a 2002 PC. That's probably what the Xbox ran at, maybe. Right.
Well, yeah. No, these were supposedly the core stats from I forget. It's one of those like high end yippee skippy times. Gaming Wars by way of Times, New York Times.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know. Look up that for that. But I'm pretty sure it's higher than that. Because like, if that's the case, like they.
Well, this is just the GPU. I'm not talking about.
Oh, the GPU. I thought you were talking about the CPU.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I should have.
Yeah, that's why it really confused me. Anyways, that sounds about right. It has a half a gig of RAM too for the 360, which is a joke by today's standards. Like your basic, your like really basic GPU nowadays what's a gig? Yeah. You know, the high end ones are probably 3 gigs now. Yeah.
But they and the thing that's really funny is they're kind of refusing to release the Wii U.
The actual specs.
Yeah, because they have apparently the CPU is slower than any of the current gen consoles, but it makes up for it apparently with a faster GPU and RAM. So
that's probably why, because they're selling you an underpowered system and then pretending like it's a new thing because it has a fancy controller.
Oh, yeah,
well, that's what we did.
I think the Wii U is really cool, but it's kind of like a catch up thing, and that's something else you gotta look at when you're buying consoles too. Because man, I tell you how many people were pissed. People who buy the Wii and they didn't realize what they were getting themselves into, and so they've spent the last 3 years staring at Xbox and PS3 games, going, "What? I could have been playing that." And and that's, I think, is the difference. Because when you buy a PC, you kind of know what you're getting. It's not like, oh, I bought a Toshiba. Now all I can do is waggle controls, and I'm never going to be able to type anything. Like,
well, that's like the equivalent of somebody that buys a desktop versus somebody that buys a laptop.
Yeah.
Because I don't care how tits the gaming laptop you get is, in like 3 years, it's going to be middle of the road to bottom.
Yeah,
I mean,
unless it's actually a gaming laptop, because they have like that with like the sound cards integrated to the motherboard, blah blah blah, where you can't upgrade it, you're stuck, and
you can't upgrade the video card for a handful of them. And that's kind of the dynamic. You know, buying a standard laptop is like buying or even a slightly geared gaming laptop. I'm not talking about the Alienwares, and I'm not talking about the super tits laptops with the backlit and the customizable macro keys and all that shit.
Yeah.
But it's just funny now because the Xbox is kind of hearing its swan song. People are already unveiling that there's going to be the announcement sometime in the first quarter of the new 360, 720, whatever the fuck they're calling it. The development houses have already kind of admitted they're playing with the hardware. They've been playing with the dev kits for a while, but actually production in earnest is what a few people have come out recently in the gaming news talking about. And it's just funny now that the 360 is kind of hitting the end of its, the metaphorical end of its run, and all these people are saying, oh, well, Dishonored, like when I played Dishonored, I was underwhelmed with the graphics. The gameplay was good, the story was compelling, but the graphics, I mean, everything kind of looked about a year and a half old. Yeah. And I kind of, thought, oh, well, this is what games are now. Like, this is how it's going to be. And then Halo 3 came out, or Halo 4 came out, rather. Yeah, then Halo 3 came out this year. No, Halo 4 came out this year. I can't even think. Hitman is really good and has a huge amount of processing power. even Borderlands. Well, not even so much Borderlands 2, but you get what I'm saying.
Halo was actually pretty impressive. So it's just more.
Oh, and Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 looked fantastic. So I mean, all these people that bitch about the fact that they're using antiquated technology need to play. I mean, Halo.
They can still milk it. I mean, if you know how to use what you're playing with, that's why you look at the PS3. Look at Uncharted 1 versus Uncharted 3. And it's not that they couldn't make it look like Uncharted 3, they just didn't know how yet, using what they had, you know? Or like looking at Heavenly Swords graphics versus Heavy Rain's graphics. It's like obviously different developers, stuff like that, but like the power is there. It's just a matter of being able to use it and using a new platform.
Well, and that's actually something that deserves a little bit of speculation. The PS3 has always been a super powered system when it came out, so why was the Xbox continually shitting on it? I mean, they offered free online play.
Fighting words.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. It's like we have both systems at the office.
Yeah.
You know, we have a Wii. We will soon have a Wii U. You know, we have all of that shit. And the PS3. I mean, I've never been a PlayStation guy, and there are people that prefer that controller.
Well, I used to be, and I think Microsoft was able to lure people away. Like I played mostly RPGs on PS2, some Need for Speed, like some Unreal Championship, as old as that is. Like, I really didn't do shooters stuff. I played Gears of War, and that blew me away. And even if you do pay for Xbox Live, I'm a real big fan of the get what you pay for thing.
Right.
So most people on Xbox have mics. They actually have a big community. Maybe a community of asshole 10-year-olds on Halo, but there's a community of them. Yeah. If you go on the PS3, almost no one ever has a mic, it seems. Like, I'd be on Little Big Planet, I'd be like, so, what are we doing? Silence. You're playing Call of Duty, there's like, there are a little bit more people with mics, but it just, Microsoft was able to brand themselves as being the social system.
Well, and it's silly because if you look at the PS3, all you need is a Bluetooth ear set.
Yeah,
pretty
and
much
still.
To pair. And think of everybody that has a fucking jaw tooth or a jawbone.
Well, everyone in California legally, if you want to talk on that phone while you're driving, you'd better.
But look at the explosion that hit. I mean, it got to the point where you couldn't go to fucking CVS without seeing like an in-ear boom mic. I'm not talking about like the one that goes around like a telemarketer in India, and strings down to your phone. I'm talking about the proper Bluetooth, and that was one of the biggest things I noticed is playing, and I can't even think of what the game was now. It was brilliant in its execution, and it just went nowhere. It was that FPS that you would start playing it, and you would only play the ranked matches until you progressed, and then it would move you into another grouping.
It wasn't MAG, was it?
MAG. That's what it was.
MAG?
And it had like that huge online
and
following.
Those came bundled with Bluetooth. Too.
Right. So and there was no excuse.
Yeah.
And still people didn't use the fucking Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And it's just that is interesting to me because I mean they gave it away for free. There was PS3 free and hardly ever any downtime. And now even though it's what I think it's comparable to Xbox.
Well, you can do the pay thing, but the pay thing doesn't necessarily get you online or anything. When you do the pay thing, they give you free games.
Right. So
I would say invest in PlayStation Premium. Even if you're not about online, you get like 4 or 5 free games a week, and as long as your membership's still active, you can keep playing those games.
Right.
So it pays for itself pretty well, but it's still not. I mean, that's cool, but it's not making me going, yeah, guys, let's all get on PS3 and play together. They don't have party chat.
Right.
They don't have a readily, easily managed friends list. So it's just really not.
Party chat's kind of douchey to begin with because
I know that people hate that because that's why no one's talking in Halo except for those 3 10-year-olds.
Right.
Which I sound like one, so we party.
So
but but Xbox is full of douchebags. They need party chat. Yeah.
Also, that's up to the devs too, whether they want to allow it or not.
Which is kind of cool, like ranked matches in Gears of War 3. You can't party chat.
They bump you out of a party, so it's not entirely that. I think party chat is a really important feature, and it's if you haven't used it before in the context of like, hey, this single player game that I'm really interested in just came out, but my buddy's online, so I'll talk to him while he's fucking playing online games or playing this thing or that, and it just makes it a lot more convenient.
I've chosen single player games for Xbox over PS3 specifically for that.
Well, I've looked at people that are playing, one of my good friends is constantly on Skyrim.
Yep.
And he has that little, wants people to play with him, wants people to join his, team chat. And I'm just like, what are we gonna talk about? And I know that it's just another communication. I mean, it's essentially free phone time, so you don't have to call somebody and
juggle your controller. Yeah,
right.
I don't know. I love that. My the guys I play with when we did Skyrim, we'd sit and talk on Skyrim. Be like, so where are you at? What are you getting right now? Like, nerdy as it was, but I think I've said this before. Like, I really like the group of people that I have on my friends list on Xbox Live, because it's people that I've played with for 6 years now. And so even if we're doing other things like, like how's your wife, how old your kids now, that type of stuff. And I think that's where Microsoft's really excelled for online gaming, because it may not be as versatile as PC gaming. It may not be free like what you have with a PS3, but it's got a better sense of community, and it keeps you going on there specifically just to be social.
Johnny?
Yeah. Well, I think, kind of going back to the graphics thing, I think, like, PC graphics have kind of bottlenecked because of consoles. Because if you look in the past, like, like, the technology hasn't accelerated alongside of it quite as quickly. And I think that, there's not as big a... Because developers have to think of, like, a market share, and there's a huge market share on the consoles, they have to simultaneously develop for both. And it's easier to put a subpar PC game that people will still buy and have something that'll still run on the consoles. Like, I would say if you were going to buy a gaming laptop, it was a good idea to do it like 2 years ago, because you still had hardware that wasn't going to catch up, because it's just really not worth it for hardware producers to produce more and more complicated hardware. It's like, I bought my gaming laptop 2 years ago. I can still play most games that come out today on high settings. And like, that's just kind of the way that it is. You won't see another jump in PC gaming because they're so intertwined because of gaming developers until the next set of consoles comes out, and then you're going to start seeing like a real explosion in graphics, like what happened when the 360 came out. That's just what I've seen, like, so far. And like, when I right before I bought my gaming laptop, I looked into making a rig, and like I looked into all that stuff too, and it's like, just looking at what stuff is now, and it's really slightly better, than it was two years ago, which wasn't the case 5 years ago,
right?
Where stuff was like increasing so much faster. It's like, and it's like I said, like, we probably won't need to buy new PC hardware for a year or two still, until the fucking new consoles get their footing, and
Well, it's funny, actually. A perfect transition or thought process with that is, if you look at all of the next gen games that ported out their games to like the Wii or the PS2, it's like, you would see this like 4-star title that would be simultaneously releasing on the Wii, and you're just like, no fucking way, like, there's no way. But I mean, it's because they're developing it for the advanced hardware. It's kind of the reverse, I guess, technically, right?
I think something to keep in mind for those graphics jumps too is a lot of that is because it's so focused on the commercial success, because consoles are very commercially successful. So you'll see the AAA titles, once they're investing lots and lots of money in, they want it on all of them. Why would they limit themselves just PC? But if you look at like PC exclusives like New Mech Warrior Online and stuff like that, that's where you can see something that could stress hardware, but it's not going to be that new game you buy that's cross, because he's right, they're developing it simultaneously. So why would they go through the trouble when later on you can patch it, you can get mods to better the textures, stuff like that? So they really don't need to go through those extra steps for something that's cross console. So like, I'm playing Planet Side 2 right now, and that, like, graphics on that are not bad. I mean, they're not like top of the line, but I think he's right that in some ways it's like, well, the console does this, so they don't really need to go too much farther to still satisfy people. So it's that environments are pretty.
And the other thing about it that, I mean, you touched on it lightly, but the ability to patch. And I mean, there are, I mean, AAA titles, day one, it's kind of like the running joke, is there will always be a day one patch.
Yeah.
From Xbox or from PS3. What's that?
They can get away with that now.
Right, but back in the day,
expectation is you're online. Yeah.
Put your shit out and have it work. Is kind of the douchey thing. But I mean, with PC, they literally have that ability to
They've always had
force an upload, or to force an update, and I mean it might be a 2-hour download, it might be a 10-second download, but the point is you're still going to get something, knock on wood, that's cleaner and better than it was initially. I'm speaking most recently the Borderlands fuck up, where people were having their golden keys getting eaten, and their badass ranks were being reset to 0. Gearbox was like, well, there aren't a lot of people with this problem, which is like, oh man, you just stuck your dick in it, because then all these people came out of the woodwork. Well, here's a screenshot, going down, here's my level like 48 with a 0 badass ranking and everything reset and all of my special shit gone. And meanwhile, I think there was a patch for it within 48 hours for PC,
which is definitely another really big benefit for PC, because they don't have any hoops to jump through with Microsoft or Sony.
Right.
So, I mean, PC, they can make any DLC they want. They don't have any requirements they have to stick to. I mean, it's their consumer base. I mean, unless obviously they're operating through Steam, but even Steam's not got the stranglehold on them the way that Microsoft does, where, oh no, you have to charge for that and stuff like that. They can just do what they want to do and what needs to be done quickly without dealing with third parties, and that's another really, another big pro for PC gaming.
And the fact that you can use gamepads. Like, didn't you use your gamepad for Skyrim, right?
I mean, there's like easily like updating software for Windows 7 to where if you have the right hookup, or if you just have like a wired Xbox controller, you can hook it into your PC and it works. And it'll work with most games, and a lot of games, especially if they're cross-platform, will actually have buttons mapped properly. Skyrim did. Skyrim had the same button maps. I played Skyrim with a controller, and it's like I'm just a bigger fan of a controller, but that's a really big thing from PC though, is that there's no middleman, and it's becoming more and more of a problem where maybe wouldn't have been, or maybe maybe studios just didn't have that outlet before. But it's like she said, like, there's no middleman on a PC, so it's basically a developer, publisher, you, instead of developer, publisher, proprietor like Microsoft or Sony, and then you. So it going through that many things, it just puts one more step between you and the developer, and it makes you that much farther, the end user from the beginning user, I guess, you could say.
Right.
And it's I mean, it's a big thing for the PC, and that's why PC is a little bit more of a, I mean, I guess like a developer's platform. It's like people who really are in touch with their developers. That's why they have the humble indie game bundle. Right. That would never exist because of Microsoft and Sony. They would never allow that.
Right.
Whereas like Steam will basically host things for free if it's a charitable thing, just because fucking Valve's kick ass. That's pretty much what that is. But like, imagine trying to push through. You get these 5 games, which a lot of the, at least one game in every humble indie game bundle you can buy on a console. So like Braid and Bastion was another one. It's like, those are what, $20 a piece? They're $20 a piece.
Occasionally they'll run on sale for like $10.
Yeah. But just that one game, and you're getting 4 other games
for less than that.
Yeah, and you can do whatever you want. You can donate $5. You can do whatever you want. I mean, like, I personally wouldn't donate less than 20, but it's like, why would you? It's like the consoles are almost strangling themselves at this point.
Right.
Because not only that, now the product that they're giving you is less than subpar. You can like look at the physical product that you pick up from the store and how it's become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and less thought has gone into the packaging and the book, and
there's no fucking handbooks anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
or minimal, like 2-page.
Yeah, like how Halo, they just printed the warnings on the back of the cover art. Yeah, I was like,
they didn't even take the time to give you a 2-page pamphlet in Halo. Whereas if you look at Halo 1, there's literature in there. Yeah, you can read about a ghost and what it does, and it's all written in the context of a handbook. And it's like, that's gone the way of dinosaur, and it's almost this dipping their foot into digital downloads. Like, that's what's happening. The next step, they can't make games any cheaper. What you go and pay $60 for at the store, cost several cents to produce. You
Right.
know, it's 2 pieces of plastic and a piece of paper.
Right.
You know, so it's like the next step is really digital download, and then, you know, how we go. So this is like, for me, I'm looking at this as like the last great throw for consumers as far as gaming goes, and it's like it's kind of a very glass half empty way to look at it, but it's true. You know, it's like after this point, nothing about gaming is going to be collectible at all.
Right.
You know, like even collector's editions nowadays are what cheap shit can we sell you over top of the game to make more money. You know, and it's why I kind of stopped buying them, because they just kept doing that, and they keep doing that now. You know, you know, we'll kind of see maybe when the new set of consoles comes out, we'll start going backwards. You know,
Maybe resurgence. Yeah,
If we do all digital, I'll just go completely PC. Like, it's like if I'm not physically gonna know, why wouldn't I just buy digital on PC?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because the first game in a long time that I've bought, and I mean, I have a host of limited editions. The best limited edition the best 2, well, I'll go ahead and say 3. Fallout 3 that had the lunchbox was phenomenal. The Gears of War 3 that had the cog, like that giant steel cog that was like brushed steel, like, and that, I think that was like $89.
Yeah.
Or maybe 99.
Yeah, it was 89, and it came with the extra skins and characters.
Right, and it came with a flag, and it came with like a fabric map and all that stuff. And the newest, the Assassin's Creed 3 limited, when we had actually purchased it, the limited, I think, was priced at $99, which I thought was a phenomenal value. And then I went to pick it up, and the guy was like, "Oh no, it's $119."
Yeah, I was about to say, well, 20.
And I was like, but when it was first announced, I like made it a point to like run out and get it, because it came with a belt buckle that has been on every pair of pants that I've worn in the past like month, or you know, however long it's been out. It came with a stitched American flag with the Assassin's Creed logo. It came with a statue that, granted, the statue was PVC, but it had more parts to it that were some of the best sculpting I've seen on a plastic toy. Like, I was kind of shocked. And I mean, if you take that back to the Gears of War 3 Super Ultra Premium that had the like Marcus Phoenix statue, when it came out, it looked like a piece of shit. Like the biggest one I'm completely omitting is the Skyrim that came with the giant dragon. Yeah. With the Alduin. Like, that was phenomenal. And then if you looked at the base, like the statue itself was so like amazingly painted and sharp, like pointy, and it would fucking hurt if you clubbed somebody with it.
Alduin would hurt if you clubbed someone with
it. Right.
Yeah.
but the base that it sits on is this Playmobil plastic shitty. It feels like one of those plastic banks you got on cereal boxes in the 80s. You know, that would be like the Count Chocula quarter bank that was shrink wrapped to the box. You know? And I think that you're absolutely right that a lot of the stuff that they give away are digital. More importantly, digital than any of the premiums that they give you. I mean, like, for a handful, like The Sims, I think gave you like a 4 gig memory thing.
Sims 3, yeah,
with the diamond.
It was a little diamond thing, and it was a 4 gig memory
and
card.
Saints Row had the money clip and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, even then,
and the
like,
bullet flash drive.
Right.
That was for Saints Row.
I collect flash drives.
The little 2 gig like bullet flash drive. But I mean, even that, like, that stuff was reusable. Yeah. You could delete whatever was on it and, you know, fill it with your own stuff. And I think that now it's slowly turning into essentially the shit that you get for pre-ordering. Like, it's just a shitty factory.
That extra little DLC stuff that doesn't really get you anything except a look what I paid for kind of thing.
Well, it was funny when right before Reach came out, they did a panel at Comic-Con, and we had set in on the panel, and I didn't get a card. They were giving out little Microsoft cards that had the little Halo helmets on them. And when we were leaving for that day, like, I just happened to look down. I was making a phone call, and I looked down, and on the ground was the little cardboard Avatar helmet thing. Yeah. And, you know, and I went home, and I was just like, oh, it's probably been redeemed. The guy just, like, flash redeemed it on his own and threw the card away. Then I went home, and it was still viable. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit. So I went and installed it, and I was like, oh, this is super cool. And then I happened to go on eBay like 2 days later, and they're going for like $60. Like,
for some stupid little avatar.
For a stupid avatar toy. And then the kicker was, that's what came with the, not standard edition, but not the statue edition, but the middle of the road one. And it came free with that. And it literally came out, I think, like a month or two after Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Like, it was, all you would have had to do was fucking wait.
Well, the Warhorse in Red Dead Redemption that Best Buy was giving out was going for like $100 online. It was stronger and faster and awesome looking. And they gave that for free about a year later. So I was kind of like, yeah. And it's just like collector's edition stuff like that. Like everybody, like, drooling all over themselves and tackling retail employees for hardened editions of Call of Duty. It's like, you're going to be able to buy that zombie map later.
Right.
Like, it's stop freaking out. And the care package box itself wasn't really all that awesome for the amount of money that you throw out. That was $180.
Right.
It's like, cool toy that you're going to play with for what, 2 days? Like, how many people are still running around with their night vision goggles from the first edition?
Yeah, but look at the newest one from Black Ops. It had a little mini helicopter drone.
That's what I was talking about.
Imagine everybody that has a cat.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at people that get it just to get it, that don't have animals, but if you can terrorize your animal with a helicopter thing, it's
makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah. But no, it's actually funny because now that you mention it, Nuketown was like the big selling point of Black Ops 2. Yeah. And I'm not sure if you guys were aware. I mean, we published a story, but you know, who reads? No. But they had Nuketown, and it went from launch to the Double XP weekend, and it was called 365 days a year, 24/7 Nuketown. And it was a selectable option on the multiplayer map. So it was like its own entity, and you would only play in Nuketown, and it was like a rotating game type. Yeah. So sometimes it was like, you know, team, you know, capture the flag, sometimes it was this, sometimes it was that. And then they did away with it on Monday. Like, this past Monday, they were like, well, Double XP weekend's over, so deal with it. And, you know, it was a digital download that so many people bought and pre-ordered. Now, granted, all those people would have bought the game anyway when it came out. Yeah. But GameStop was one of the people. I think Best Buy did a heavy...
Everyone was pushing it, yeah.
Right. And the fact that now it's not something that you can freely go into when it's literally just a coding thing. Yeah. You know, it's not double XP, and it's
not... A little
not...
scammy. I'm sure they'll charge you for it later. And that's something that collectors... I know that people who shell out money for collectors get really mad about later. It's like, well, I paid for this, so only I should have it. They shouldn't make it for DLC later, like the Mass Effect Collector's Edition. Right. That extra mission. It's like... I got the collector's edition because I like the collector's edition on that. I like the steel box case. I'll almost always shell out like another $10-$20 for a steel box on a game because I'm a sucker. And so I'm like, I can care less if that moron has the DLC too. Like, that does not affect me in any way, shape, or form. I'm kind of a live and let live on that. I know that I'm spending money on something I could get later. So if I'm choosing to throw away my income like that, whatever, power to you. The problem is people who don't realize that and then are like the people buying the hardened edition for like a crazy inflated amount of line just to play Nuketown Zombies. Well, it's going to be in a zombie pack in like a year. Like, there's no way it's not.
Not even like 3 months.
Yeah, so there's no way they're going to skip over that possible profit, you know?
They don't ever make that apparent, too. And it's like, it's like, if enough people bitch about it, like, they'll give it to you for free. It's like, look at the recon armor in Halo, like, they make it impossible to get, and then enough people are like, well, no, that's stupid, why are you making it so hard? And then they just give it to you. It's like, you know, but I think collector's editions are kind of waning now. You know, Halo 4 is a perfect example because it's cleverly packaged rave cards and a few, like, little cool keepsake things and a steel box, and that's it. You know, like, they're, you know, I mean... I think it's gonna start going away to where there's like the 3 editions and blah blah blah. I mean, I know they're still trying to push it, like with BioShock Infinite, they're still coming out with it, but I think that's like what Halo 4 does, a bit of foreshadowing. It's gonna be, you know, maybe something that makes your dude look cool that doesn't affect the way that he plays. And I mean, with Halo is basically the Call of Duty clause. Like, they gave you maps. You know, they gave you
the map pass.
They gave you the map pass, yeah.
They, I kind of, I kind of like that for some of the PC games they do like digital deluxe editions. Like I got Guild Wars 2. We did buy one physical collector edition. It's like $150 with a really awesome Ritlock statue.
Right.
That is a cool statue. Speaking of statues earlier, that was worth it. And then the really cool box for it, the steel box that has the map like engraved on it. It's like it's raised up. It's really, really cool. And then some extra like in goodies. I got the digital deluxe, so I just paid $20 more for the in-game content. And I'm like, I'm cool with that. I don't need the extras. So and I kind of like how that goes. Like it's, even though the 3 editions, I don't want the fancy packaging. I'm really paying you $20 just for in-game content.
Right.
And with Guild Wars, you can actually just pay $20 later down on the road if you want to just get upgraded to a collector's account. And I'm like, that seems pretty cool. Instead of, you know, it's not really a collector's edition anymore. Right. It's a deluxe edition. So in that, I think that's an important distinction because it's no longer I'm one of the 100 people who got that collector's edition or 1,000 or whatever. Now it's anybody could have this, and that I know to some collectors just makes it pointless.
Well, Blizzard is kind of notorious for doing things like that.
Oh, or the super limited quantities on their physical goodies.
Right, and then if you look back on it, like when StarCraft came out, like StarCraft, it came with the limited was like a dog tag that had the original StarCraft game and the expansion in it. When they did Diablo 3, it came with a little like skull. Demon skull.
Yeah, the demon. Yeah.
But what they tell you is it's a one-use item too because it still has the account code on it. So when you install the thing, it's just like installing it on the disc. You know, the battle chest or what have you. And there were a ton of people on Craigslist and on eBay that after it came out, they installed the game and then they sold the little premium, you know, the little statue USB card, you know, blah blah blah, billing it as the original Diablo 2 and you know Lord of Chaos or whatever it was called. And then you know the people would buy it and find out that you still had to pay for the ownership code for it because the code had already been redeemed.
So scamming that. Oh, like I said, I'm a sucker for flash drives, so I just buy the flash drive anyways.
Yeah.
So, you know, actually, collector editions I like, speaking of that, the Adventure Time one that just came out. I'm, again, total sucker for that stuff. Fell in love with it. Is that a steel box case? Yes, it is. In Kyridian packaging.
Isn't it like oversized, too? Like
oversized box. Yeah, of course not. No, it's like, fuck you, I'm awesome. And then it comes with, like, the sword stylus, and I'm like, and it was only $10 more. So I'm like, if it comes down to it, yeah, I'll pay $10 more for that. Well, it's all kind of cheesy stuff, but that seems reasonable. Not paying $40 more and getting like Assassin's Creed, I think 1 where like half the statues were broken. The tin can it came in just like crunched if you hugged it too hard. Which of course you hugged it because you're so excited. And that was like $30 more, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm getting more out of this $10 DS game that's being released.
Well, BioShock, the one that was the original BioShock that had the Big Daddy statue.
Yeah.
When it was released, I remember one of my friends that happened to work at GameStop at the time that was a manager was like, you need to come down and buy the limited edition. It's broken. I was like, what, are you retarded? She said, no. If you buy the limited edition, and I mean, this is how well she knew me. She was like, they realized that they were packaged poorly. So, like, at least 1/3 of them to 2/3 of them broke in shipment. And what happened was they had a thing where if you signed up on their website, they would send you an envelope to mail the mangled one back. And, like, in whatever a finite amount of time, you would get an art book, a repainted, you know, awesome figure that was actually packaged correctly, and, you know, the letter of apology or whatnot. And
the broken ones were on eBay for crazy amounts.
Right. Well, what happened was, I can only speak in my particular case. I kind of dragged ass in sending it back because I forgot about it. And, you know, I opened it up and I played the game and I threw the box out and all this other stuff. And so I think I emailed them like a month after the fact. And they were like, oh yeah, no, we'll send you a thing and blah, blah, blah. And like 3 weeks went by. I was like, hey, I still haven't gotten that envelope. And they were like, yeah, it's just too problematic right now. So you can just keep your broken one or throw it away. We're just going to send you the updated one in like 2 weeks. And true to form, they sent me a brand new repainted, stellar packaged statue. You know, a nice like cold cast. It wasn't porcelain, but it was like it was heavy.
Yeah.
And the art book, and I think like a CD soundtrack on top of that. And I think that you're never gonna see that again because everything's being packaged in that like plasticky.
Well, I mean, it's not something that's high quality enough to be delicate, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, it's gonna be plastic, and chances are it's not gonna crack in shipping.
Now, going back to the StarCraft thing, though, when Heart of the Swarm, they announced that Heart of the Swarm's coming out, and there's going to be a limited edition that's going to have, you know, an art book and soundtrack and, you know, da-da-da-da.
Some extra stuff for Diablo, wow.
And, extra stuff for Diablo. Wow. But they're also releasing a digital edition that's going to have the digital art book and the digital download voucher for the soundtrack and all of the digital content.
For like $20 less,
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, at that point, like, you're almost better off just getting the virtual one. And the thing that's really kind of weird to me is it's selling for $60 and it's coming with a complete StarCraft 2 game. So anybody that's buying the fucking expansion has the game already.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be a game that you gift to other people to like play with on your server, or it's going to be something you sell. Yeah.
Seems like a good idea to me. And you'd be like, oh, why did I need that? And then convert some other sucker who now needs to buy the expansion to play with you.
Right, but would you spend $60? Because I don't think to my knowledge, from the PR blast they sent out, there isn't going to be just a standard $20 add-on expansion. Like, the expansion you have to buy is $60. 40. Or it's 40?
I believe it's 40.
Oh yeah, it's 40. It's 60 in stores and 40 online.
Yeah.
Right. So either way, you're still going to be paying for the original game and converting somebody in much in the same way that when you get all the, you know, cutesy bells and whistles for WoW and Diablo, if you don't have a copy of Diablo, you're probably going to buy it. Or, you know, or you're going to sell it to somebody that plays Diablo, or you're going to buy a World of Warcraft account. Fucking pandas. And I did a little bit of research and found out that there's apparently to date, and this is only the people that have the anonymous whatever the heck it's called, the
WoW census.
Yeah, the WoW census enabled, that there's 3 million characters, and I mean that's a widget that you have to download. And yeah, there's 3,519,061 characters currently on the WoW servers, and that's with the Census Plus.
Yeah, which you can imagine that was hugely popular. So
right, everybody's running out and being like, eh.
Oh yay, Census.
But even that, it's, I mean, and it's funny because if you look at it, you know, comparatively, like, I did a couple of the quick numbers. Black Ops 2 in week 1 sold 6.21 million copies on Xbox alone. Halo 4 sold 3.8 million on 360 alone. And Mists of Pandaria, which was supposed to be like World of Warcraft's, you know, we're coming back, and now with fucking pandas, and everybody was
and
shitting
Pokemon.
all over. Yeah. And they sold 2.7 million in the first week.
Yeah.
Like, this was a game that they made documentaries about.
Is that just brick and mortar, or is that taken to the digital sales too? That's literally all their sales?
That's digital sales and China.
Oof.
Yeah. And I'm giving you the higher figure that I found, because the brick and mortar one I found was like 600 and something thousand copies. And I mean, it used to be, I mean, there are documentaries out about people that like lined up and camped out like it was the Star Wars prequel, you know, 24 hours in advance, and would take 3 days off of work, you know, to level up to their max levels, you know, to the thing. And now, I mean, do you think that a lot of that is from the Guild Wars, where you only had to pay $60? And
I don't know if it's because of that, but Guild Wars, wasn't it, didn't they hit like 1 million before they even released the game? Yeah, like, it's kind of
the numbers are all over the place. That's why I didn't include Guild Wars, because some of them are like 1.5 million, and some of them are like 9 million, and I'm like, that's not possible.
I can't remember. I mean, it was at least 1 million before they released it, because that was like their big one that they were touting, and which is kind of sad looking at WoW then, because it's like Guild Wars has always been at least Guild Wars, when it was Guild Wars 1, as popular as it was, I know a lot of people look down on, like, poor man WoW, right?
Right.
It's a free-to-play game, the graphics weren't great, it's kind of a weird structure for an MMO. But I think World of Warcraft, I think some of the shiny's worn off on it a little bit for some people. There's definitely still huge fans of it, and it's not a bad game. It's just, I know myself after playing other MMOs, like the more current ones, like Guild Wars, and trying out PlanetSide 2, I can't imagine going back to something that traditional for an MMO. And Blizzard's probably going to have to shake it up pretty hard before they do, whenever they release their next MMO, because there's got to be a next MMO.
Right. Johnny?
I think, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a sign of the times. You know, it's with console gaming, a lot more people are getting into it, and that's their gateway is console gaming, because they don't have to worry, they don't have to learn a whole new structure, you know, and
yeah, every game's gonna use a controller.
Yeah, every game is gonna use the same controller. It's also, personally, I think it's a lot fairer as far as competitive online stuff goes. You know, because even if you look at you know, even in MMOs and PvP and stuff, it's your relationship to the server, what server you're playing on, things like that, and it's like that kind of lag where it's like, you know, with competitive console gaming, because it's mostly peer to peer. They don't, and it basically finds the best thing. It's a little bit more balanced. Everyone's playing on the same hardware.
Right.
You know,
on the downside, because it is like that, it's a bunch of lag switching little twats.
That's I kind of noticed that exploded over the past year.
Is that happening a lot now?
They're making
I'd
controllers with
imagine
buttons built
Halo,
into it.
because you know it'll drop them and instead try to find like the new host for Halo. Like, it doesn't really benefit that I've seen for lag switchers or whatever. I sat in a match, and I swear, like 5 minutes of my match was just waiting for them to find a different host that wasn't screwing around with it. Like, it was just constant. Like, I'd go to shoot, and then I'd be like, you know, it'd pause it, and then the guy would be like halfway across the map, and I was just like, all right, well, I guess I'm not playing today. Screw you, kiddies.
Yeah.
Gears of War, it was rampant. Constant.
What I've seen it on Halo 4 where I'll, like, it's literally a guy. It's one guy on the other team, and I'll go to shoot him, and he'll just start jumping around. Yeah,
or you see him just fly, and you're like, where did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, although, you know, to be fair, I'm sure you probably get taken advantage of on PC way more often than you do on consoles.
Not for something like Connection, at least. I don't know, most of my competitive experience is like structured PvP and stuff like that, and I've really never had, I mean, if P disconnects, great, they're gone. Like, that's about as much as it affects me, you know? It's like, I very rarely been like, oh, I recognize that guy, motherfucker. I know what you're gonna do this match. So most of the issues, I would say, is just if they've got something up, I don't know, less good gaming rig or whatever, then that's gonna be on their end of things. Obviously, there's people who have, I guess, you know, more precise mice or whatever and stuff like that. But I've never really looked at it as an unfair advantage in what I've been playing. But in a shooter, I could definitely see how that. Yeah, the guy with the actual nice mouse versus, like, I remember trying to do jumping puzzles with my crappy like $15 wireless keyboard, and every time, like, I couldn't hit spacebar and forward at the same time without it, like, going and then, like, falling to my death.
So
that's miserable.
Getting back to the original thought process, this is actually going to be a final thoughts. So, given that it seems like the next gradual step is for consoles is going to be going kind of pure digital, and given that brick and mortar reseller game stores, with the exception of places like Luna or like niche places to where you can get, you know, original NES games and whatnot, when it starts that heavy digital push, do you think companies like GameStop are going to be going out of business because they are, you know, they're phasing out their GameCube, you know, they're phasing out the PS2 now, the games, and it's going to get to the point where they're only going to have current gen stuff.
I think I could see it turning into something where it's almost a kiosk rather.
Right.
Like, because, I mean, they're already selling the digital codes. You have the option of just or them just, just email you the code, text message you the code instead of printing it on a receipt for you. Now you can order stuff on the website directly from in the store. So it's almost kind of, what's the point of having a big physical stock? I mean, if it does go 100% digital, their only viable option is really going to be making commission off of those downloadable content sales. Because there's something to be said, I think, for going into a store, varying experiences with that company as far as going into a store and actually talking to somebody who knows anything.
Right.
But I think there's something to be said if you can go in and you know that person and they know you and talking about the game and picking something out based on, like, mutual knowledge, which,
But is that going to switch into forums? That kind of thing.
Exactly.
You know
and it's just a matter of, like, the comfort level of the user, because you still have people who are scared of the internet. So.
Well, I mean, even with that in mind, like, the PlayStation Network has started doing that day one downloads.
Yeah, where you get the digital copy right away.
Instead of waiting in line at midnight with all the, like, shitty, greasy mouth breathers that are waiting. Yeah. And granted, that's probably 2/3 or less of what, the people that show up. But they're not society's, the ones that can be out at midnight at a store aren't technically usually society's grander stamens. And I'm myself included. Like, I've been to many a midnight showing,
And that's what I think is that there's really going to be, that'll be a thing of the past, and you'll pretty much just see, as far as a game retailer, it's really just going to be a kiosk used to advertise better. That's what I would see it as. So it's just salespeople. So, how the cell phone guy always waves at you and is like,
right.
hey, is that an AT&T phone? I'll be like, hey, have you played that? Like, hey, what's going on? Like,
you know about Dota 2? Can I tell you about, or Dota 3?
Yeah.
Can I tell you about Dota 3? Can I tell you about Halo 5? Like,
Have you ever heard of Bungie? Yeah.
What's your take, Johnny?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of exciting because, you can look at the way that I look at movies now. Mm-hmm. And it's like I almost exclusively watch Netflix. I don't have any problems with that, but for some reason I'm really opposed to the idea that I won't be able to have a disc or have a game anymore.
Right.
I'm sure I'll accept it when it does happen, but I'm not excited about it.
Yeah. It's my whole thing has always been having the physical item. Like I would never buy the DLCs for Borderlands, and then when Game of the Year would come out, I'd be like shitting all over myself to get it, because it's literally a disc that you put in your system and download the shit that you could have already downloaded from the Xbox server. And I think that to collectors, I mean, pretty much the only thing you're going to be looking at, if in fact it does go to that digital thing, is all of those shitty premiums. And the worst part is they're still going to yank you for like $50 to $60, just for the product. At least $40 for the product, And I think that on the upside, I think that this will give indie game companies a better foothold to put quality out.
Definitely even the playing field a little bit, because when you go into the retailers, those bigger companies, the ones who run around the advertising dollars, it's so much easier to look at indie games when you're doing a digital platform.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that too, but it's been nice while it lasted, at least being able to take home a game and being able to share it and being able to play offline.
Right. Which is kind of slowly becoming a thing of the past.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us yet again for the Co-Operatives podcast. I'd like to thank our two guest voices that are now becoming solid voices. Well, Johnny's not really a guest voice, but, he's a voice. He's like Christina Aguilera. He's the voice. But yeah, so...
Hit my button, recruit you to my team.
That's right.
Singing team.
So in any case, if you're just listening for the first time, check us out, theco-operatives.com. Mick, Johnny Thin, and Domo Z coming at you live again. Till then, keep up with us on Twitter, check the site, and like us on Facebook, and don't be a dick. Don't die.